Hey guys, Casual Chrono here. I want to spend a little bit of time going into I wouldn't say it's the advanced mechanisms of Grasta, but it's a little more than my intermediate video displays. Basically, I want to showcase how people in the back can influence people in the front, and even people in the front influencing each other. I find a lot of times when I'm reading comments on Reddit and such that people aren't even aware how the back row plays into things aside from moving into the front row and creating like a zone or something like that. So here I'm going to showcase Sesta and some back row Grasta that can help her. So first things first, we need to create a baseline. So here's your typical wind team. Sesta is going to Twin Blade Wolf. Suzette's going to create Pain. Yifa's going to cast a buff. There's no way I can pronounce that correctly. Bua, perhaps, that improves Sesta's power by 50%. And Soira's just here to do Soira stuff. Nothing here is going to buff Sesta or do anything of any importance. And we're just going to see how much the Twin Blade Wolf damage does with these 4 people and their buffs. Like 6 millions, 3 millions. And then was that either 29 million or 291 million? It always goes really fast. So, same thing. She's going to Twin Blade. At this point, Suzette's role is pretty much done in this. She's going to cast the power buff again because it only lasts until the end of the turn. And Soira's just going to stand there. So 19, I think 187s, 291s, and I was able to destroy it in 2 turns. So there are Grasta out there that, once equipped, share their properties with other people. Azami is a wind user. So for her Grasta, she has an enhance if max hit point katana. It increases the damage by 30% when a character is at max health. She also has one for low health. That way, if characters are damaged below 80%, they do more damage as well. And finally, she has Power of Gale for katana users. If you are a katana user and use wind type attacks, your damage goes up by 30%. So, Sesta is a wind type user who has katana. So the Power of Gale would improve her attacks as well. The enhance if max HP katana, if Sesta is at max HP, her damage will also go up. So let's actually see that in action. We are going to add Azami to the party. She is in the back row, so she's not an active member of the front line. At no point in the fight is she going to move into the front line. She's simply going to stand in the back row and watch. And let's see how the damage changes. If the math is correct, Sesta's damage should go up by 60%. 30% because she's at max health, and 30% because she's a katana wind user. So we're going to do the exact same thing. Demonic Thrust, Bua. Soira will stand there looking like Soira, and Sesta's Twin Blading Wolf. So you'll notice Azami's in the background. I'm not swapping her in, she's just standing there. 7 millions, 9 millions, 42 or 425. Numbers go so fast, I don't know. You can see that the dummy is nearly destroyed already. And the numbers were definitely higher. We're going to do the same thing again. Dragon Assault, Bua. Stand There, and Twin Blade Wolf.
These are the shadows of the voiceless.
So she didn't even get to her final attack. The dummy was already destroyed. So Sesta's power definitely grew simply by Azami standing there with the proper Grastas equipped. And if Sesta was in a boss fight and had taken damage and was below 80%, her damage actually would have increased by 40% instead of the 30 that the max HP one gives. So sometimes it's helpful to have a second wind user in the background. Curio, for example. He could also equip Grasta that helps Sesta. He could equip Sound Body, which improves her health by 30%, or by 300, and her mana. He could give her regen. But, so here we have Curio not necessarily helping with damage, but he provides a regen, and he provides extra health. So, in this fight,
Am I in the right place?
you'll notice, first of all, that Sesta has 300 more health and 50 more mana points. And we're going to do the same thing again.
Testify.
Sesta will do some pretty massive damage, and you'll notice at the end of the fight, she will also have a regen and recover some health. Right there, the 350. That was a result of what Curio was holding. So, for example, Azami has the max HP Grasta, and Curio is doing his best to make sure that Sesta stays at max HP. And that's pretty much how Grasta sharing in the background can help the front row. I'm going to show some other examples of some other types of Grasta that also can be shared across users. But the important point is the two people in the back row can be equipped with Grasta that will improve the damage or the defenses or the resistances of people in the front row. Now we're going to take a look at my favorite team, my Alma team. Alma herself has a lot of pretty strong gear, and she has the pain poison Grastas with the bullseyes and all that stuff. Okay, as far as Grastas go, there's nothing really interesting with Xion or Alma. They both have pain and poison Grastas. Iffy is in the front row. Iffy has a sound body Grasta. It increases the health of all staff users. Well, she's a staff user, but so is Xion. So she is actually buffing Xion in the front row. She also has damage when is improved when your hit points are lower than 80%. Those of you that have Iffy know that when you attack, you take damage. So it's usually fairly easy to be below 80% most of the time. So that means that second Grasta she's equipped with will you typically boost Xion's damage when Xion is below 80%. The third Grasta is Almighty Power Gun. There's many Almighty Power Grasta, and another Eden Wiki has a huge list of them. If you're not sure if a character is a gun user or whatever type of almighty power there is, if you go to their character page on the wiki, it will show you what type of personalities and traits that they have. It'd be really nice if it just showed it on the status screen, but such is life, that's not how it is currently. But you can equip this type of Grasta if you are a gun user yourself. So Iffy is boosting her own attack by equipping this. However, because it's been upgraded, it also affects any other gun user. It just so happens that Alma is a gun user, so Iffy is boosting Alma's damage, and Iffy is in the front row. And then Radius does not have any Grasta that helps. So let's take a look at the dummy damage with this team. Alma is going to Lunatic. Jet Xion is going to drop Fate Stance. Iffy is going to produce Pain Poison. And it doesn't really matter what Radius does. So here on the second round, Jet Xion is going to cast Illusion Black Dragon. In the second part of the description, all party members increase magic damage based on their max MP value. So Alma's damage is going to go up. She's going to hit one Ether Alchema just so you can see the damage. Iffy is going to do Nocturnal Procession, which improves Alma's power and intellect by 50%. And she's just going to Overwhelm again. So an Ether Alchema right there, I think that was about 27 million, if I saw it correctly. And Alma went before Iffy. So now we're going to awaken the zone, and that 50% buff will be in play. So this one, again, doesn't really matter. We'll just keep casting that just to be on the safe side, and she'll Overwhelm. So right now, with an awakened zone, you're looking at about 52 million damage. If I saw that count right. Alma is on her last turn of Lunatic. We'll do another attack. This time I'm going to cast Attack Order. Even though I'm already in Magic Fate stance, it inflicts Break. So it should double Alma's damage. And again, I'll just cast Nocturnal Procession, Overwhelm, and Alma will continue with her Ether Alchema attack. There's the break, and sure enough, about double damage. It looked like it was around 105 million damage. So based on the front row characters alone, Alma was doing about 105 million damage per attack. Let's wrap this fight up and add some back row characters. So there, in that fight, you saw Alma doing damage of anywhere from 50 million to 100 million, if I saw the numbers correctly, just with the 4 front row characters. Now let's look at the back row. Alma is a gun user and a bow user, and a crystal user. So basically you would look at your team and try and decide who is a good bow user, gun user, crystal user, who might match up with Alma. In this particular team, I have Pizzica, and she has some Grasta equipped. If Alma's at max hit points, Alma will do 30% more damage. If Alma is below 80% health, she will do 40% damage. And Pizzica has regen, which gives everyone who is equipped with a bow a regen. So that way Alma can try and stay at max health. So none of those 3 really require a high-level bow user. You could technically have a level 1 bow user equipped with those Grasta. So it doesn't have to be Pizzica or anyone particularly hard to get. And in fact, we do that with the other character. I have level 60 by Vet, equipped with some Grasta. And you might say to yourself, Crono, why by Vet? She's a staff user, not a bow user. Well, that's where that shared Grasta with personality traits comes into play. By Vet is a cat lover. If you have the cat lover Grasta equipped and upgraded completely, all cat lovers will get 25% extra damage. She also has improvements for staff users, but that's more for Xion's benefit than anyone's. So by Vet, no matter what, will give Alma 25% more damage. Pizzica will also buff Alma, but it's dependent on whether Alma has max health or is below 80% health. But in either case, both Backrow characters are going to support Alma. So we're going to do the exact same fight. So Radius is doing nothing. He's dropping Magic Stance. Alma's going to Lunatic on the first round, and we're going to drop Pain and Poison. Same as before. On the second turn, we dropped Illusion Black Dragon to improve magic damage. She started casting Ether Alchema, and Iffy started trying to buff the team. Now in the last fight, Alma went first, so she was missing Iffy's buff. We'll see if that same thing happens this round. Yep. But you'll see the damage was much higher already.
Incinerate.
Alma's at max health, so she should be getting the buff for the max health, the 30%, from Pizzica, and she's getting an extra 25% damage thanks to Bivette's Cat Lover. Now we're going to awaken the zone. She's going to attack again. She's going to keep casting that buff, and Radius is going to keep standing there and watching. So now we have an awakened zone. Alma's going to keep attacking with Ether Alchema. At this point in the last fight, we cast Break. She's going to keep casting her same spell, she's going to keep casting her same skill. So, Break should go first. If you remember, Alma last time did about 105 million damage, if I saw the numbers correctly. So let's see how much she does this time with the two Backrow characters just watching. It looked like it was around 125 million this time. So simply by virtue of having Backrow characters, your primary damage dealer can do way more damage than usual. She's not doing nearly as much now because Lunatic ran out. But you saw the difference. And in some super boss fights, the more damage she does, the better. I guess that kind of makes sense for all fights. I guess a better way of saying it is, if you do a lot more damage a lot faster, the fight won't drag out as long. So here we have basically a fire team with Minalca being the primary damage dealer. Minalca has your standard pain poison Grastas with your bullseyes and your MP consumptions. She does have Infernal Power of Pain, which not only improves pain strength by 30%, but fire attacks by 20%. So she's pretty bulked up right now with the Elpis sword and everything. I have Aisha, who basically does not have anything that helps, aside from hit points. It's the same Iffy as before. She still gives all staff users health, she still improves staff users damage, and she improves gun users damage, but no one else is a gun user. So this time Iffy is not buffing the main character. And then Radius is just standing there doing Radius things. We have Ukwaji in the background, and Ukwaji has the resistances. So each type of resistance is upped by 15%. And sure enough, if you check your team and check their abilities and you start scrolling down, you'll see 15%, 15%, 15%. So that resistance even shows up on the character's ability page. Not that straw dummies fight back, but... Alright, so we're going to do 2 quick rounds of this with Minalca, and no help in the background. We're going to improve her max health. She's going to drop a fire zone. She's going to do pain poison. And Radius is just going to stand there. So Minalca gets Tributum stacks based on how much damage is done by for the whole team. So she is going to do Rip and Tear again, this time in the fire zone. We are going to improve the team's power. And we are going to buff up the team with Nocturnal Procession. And she's just going to Prominence Purge, because why not?
Take this.
Okay, so you'll see about 19 million per swing, 39 million per swing when it's critical. Again, the numbers are going pretty fast. I'm assuming it's 19 and 39 million. Might be 193 million and 390 million, but I don't quite think it's that high. Alright, she has 48 stacks of Tribunum, same as before. This time we're going to decrease the fire resistance on the boss. She is going to continue her buff. She's going to continue her Prominence Purge. And she's going to Rip and Tear.
Take this.
So now we're going to see about 23, 46, 47 million damage per swing. Alright, 2 turns left. We're just going to keep doing the same thing. These are all 5 turns, 5 turns, 5 turns, so it really doesn't matter at this point what she casts. I guess just for consistency, we will cast Blaze Concerto, and Minalca will continue to Rip and Tear like she always does.
Incinerate.
And we'll watch her damage. 23, 24, 47. She's not going twice now because the boss got below 50% health. She only does the move twice when the boss is above 50%. And then finally, same thing. This time she has 50 Tribunum stacks. So she should do a little tiny bit more damage. And we'll cast the same 3 spells again for consistency's sake. And she actually did a little less. It looked like 22 million and a 40-something million per hit. So that was without any help in the back row. The damage dealer, Minalca, is a sword user. So the best help is going to be another fire sword user. But all of you have Aldo. And it doesn't really matter what level he's at as long as he can equip Grasta. So Aldo has Robust Body. It improves all sword users' health by 300. That does improve Radius's health as well as Minalca's, because both of them are sword users. In addition, when when her health is at 80% or below, Minalca is going to do more damage, and fire type attacks are going to have 30% more damage. Well, Minalca is a fire user. Minalca hurts everyone on the first round, and Iffy, her presence, also hurts people on each turn. So Minalca should be below 80% a lot of the time. So by that addition alone, let's see the difference in power. Alright, we're going to do the same thing as before. You'll see the 50 Tribunum stacks. On the first turn, we're going to improve Minalca's health. We're going to cast Fire Zone, drop Pain Poison, and we are going to... Technically, I really shouldn't overwhelm. Minalca's attack power is influenced by how much damage everyone takes, and overwhelm creates a barrier. So it does actually prevent some of that damage. But since I used overwhelm in the last fight, I want to be consistent. I'm going to use overwhelm this fight. So the only difference is that Aldo is in a group with his Grasta. Alright, we're going to Prominence Purge. We're going to keep casting Nocturnal Procession to mimic last fight. That will improve Minalca's power by 50%. She is going to also buff up Minalca by 50%. And Minalca is going to do Rip and Tear, which will inflict pain as well. So you notice Minalca is doing about 31 million or 63, 62 million per swing. Before it was 23 and 40 something per swing. Aldo's presence has improved her damage by 10 to 20 million per hit already. So Prominence Purge, that. She's going to reduce fire resistance. And she's going to continue to Rip and Tear. $38 and 77 million, 76 million. Two turns left. She's going to continue to Prominence Purge. She's going to continue to cast this buff. She's going to continue to do the Concerto, because at this point there's nothing else to do, and that's what I did last time. And she's going to continue to Rip and Tear.
Take this. Go.
And the final round. Everyone got hurt. She is at max stacks. She's going to Rip and Tear. Blaze Concerto, Nocturnal Procession, and Prominence Purge. Exactly the same as before. And you'll notice the damage is definitely higher than the last turn. So we did, whatever, 902 million damage instead of, I think, was the last one 660 something million? And the only thing we did different was include Aldo in the back. He never stepped into the fight, he never did anything. It's just another example of how a Backrow character equipped with the right Grasta can improve front row characters' damage. So that is basically a way to improve your team. If you already have a really strong front row, it's probably time to look at the back row. So where can you get these power of whatever element for whatever weapon Grasta? These Grasta are found in the present Garulia dungeon. If you collect 20 pieces of junk, you can go see the Nagsham merchant if you happen to access Nagsham. Now the merchant will sell 4 Grasta at a time, but it's a limited stock. If you buy a Grasta, it's not going to appear again. So if you're looking for the Power of Inferno sword, for example, and he happens to be selling it on your very first trip there, and you buy it, great, you have it, you're done. However, if you return, he'll have 4 new items for sale, and you will never see a second Power of Inferno sword. So you can't have like a Backrow character with 3 Power of Inferno swords giving 90% extra damage. That'd be a little too overpowered. So what a lot of people do is they'll run present Garulia another dungeon over and over and over again and try to collect pretty much all the power of elements for all weapons. That way, when the next super awesome user like Sesta comes along, they already have a Power of Gale Katana Grasta handy and ready to go. If you are far enough along in the game and you're at the current content as of October 2023, the Shared Thunder upgrades are sold by a merchant for scratch in Agarum. So if you have a Thunder team, instead of running another dungeon, you will want to go to Agarum and see the merchant there for the Shared Thunder Grasta and bring some scratch. He sells all of them, so You don't have to hope to get lucky or anything like that. He'll have all 8 available the very first trip there. So if you have about 50,000 Grasta, or I guess 40,000 Grasta, you can buy them all out. But for earth, wind, fire, and water, you have to run present Garulia over and over and over and over again, and go to all the zones that drop junk, and collect as much junk as possible, and keep buying out the vendor, and run it over and over and over again. If you're looking for one particular Grasta, like I probably did 40 or 50 runs for my Power of Wind Katana shared Grasta to boost up Sesta. So don't be discouraged if you don't see it right away. Eventually, if you keep buying him out, it will appear, because it just will. Eventually you can buy out every single type of Grasta that shares. For the Enhance if Maximum HP Grasta, those are also part of Present Guerrilla, another dungeon. You can get those by exchanging cat emas. So basically, if you run Present Guerrilla Dungeon a whole lot, you can really beef up your front row team with your back row characters. So, Present Guerrilla. This is what you want to run for a lot of the shared Grasta. Anyway, there are many other shareable Grastas. As I mentioned, there were all of those specialized Grastas, such as the Cat Lover Grasta, the Almighty Powers. So these are kind of spread out all over the place. If you go to the wiki page and search up Grastas and look for, like, basically if you sort by attack Grastas and so forth, there's an entire section that has Almighty Power and then Cat Lover, or Almighty Power and the Eastern person gets 25% damage. Anyone that wears glasses gets 25% damage, and so forth and so on. As I said, you can go to a character page, you can see what types of personalities they have, and then you can look up on the wiki where you can find some of these Almighty Powers, and that's where you can find those. Some are easy to get, some are a little harder to get. I would choose whoever is your strongest DPS character and look for any Almighty Powers that they might have. So, much like I did with Alma and her Almighty Power gun user. So, anyway, that is how stacking your back row can help your front row and help your frontline damage people be even more awesome than they already are. I hope some of this helps. Casual Crono, signing out.